Okay, we ready?
Yeah.
I like to party whenever I can.
No.
What?
I like to party and I'm going to party.
I like to party and I'm going to party whenever I like to party and I'm going to party whenever I can.
Last time you said I'm definitely going to party whenever I can.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to party whenever I can, that's fine.
I like to party and I'm definitely going to party whenever I can.
Definitely, didn't you? That's what you've been saying, I wrote it down. It's okay,
Yep,
it's fine.
yep. And I'm definitely going to party.
Get in there now.
Yeah.
Party.
Yeah. I definitely will say that. It's definitely going to happen. I like to party, and I'm definitely going to party whenever I
Okay,
can.
hold it. Just collect yourselves, all right? I'm fine. Be serious now. Serious.
We perform tomorrow.
Project ini adalah tentang dua culture, antara culture dari Australia dan dari Cianjur, Jawa Barat, Indonesia. Dan bagaimana project ini menggabungkan dari kedua culture yang berbeda ini menjadi satu pertunjukan yang utuh. Gitu.
This project was essentially a collaboration between two student theatre groups, a group of students from the Trobe University in Australia working with a group of students from UPI, which is a university in Bandung, Indonesia. The idea behind the project was an investigation of each other's knowledge or otherwise of each other's cultures. Part of the pre-production was involved a couple of months before we went to Bandung. We worked on material that we would present to the Indonesians when we first arrived. The Indonesians similarly were working on material that they would present to us on the day that we arrived.
So we all hadn't worked with each other before, so we did a couple of activities really, just about sort of what would you bring to Indonesia, what we sort of think that we'll need in Indonesia.
They were very general, I think, because we didn't know what we were going to see, I think, when we got there, and we didn't really want to have maybe really developed stuff because we wanted to be able to adapt and see what they brought to the table.
Is there big tang in here?
Not yet.
Some of us had been to Indonesia before, some of us had never travelled before. So as a group we thought we'd spend a couple of days in Bali just to acclimatise to Indonesia before we hit Bandung.
Meeting the Indonesian cast to begin with was completely the opposite of what I was expecting.
Samsung will be defeated by Samsung!
It was really exciting and I immediately felt this is going to be good. We're going to get along. There's a good vibe here. You know, this is going to be fun.
Extremism, but also hospitality.
Yeah.
At the start of the rehearsal period, we showed each other what we'd been working on for the 2 months prior to arriving in Bandung. We presented our material, which was comprised of Australian scripts with a bit of improvisation and some thoughts about what we thought we'd see when we got to Indonesia.
Besides, who do you think you are to say you're a better friend to me than Kenny?
Saya lahir di Bandung tanggal 3 Desember 1995. Kedua orang tua saya. Saya sekarang sedang menjalani pendidikan di Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia.
I wish I'd get you something.
After we presented our material to the Indonesians then showed us what they'd been working on for the past few months, and it was much more developed than I was anticipating.
There was costume, live music, singing, dancing. It was a 2-hour performance. Once we'd sort of gotten into this story of Jamarun that they were performing for us. And I remember looking at, I think it was Lucy or someone, and Lucy's jaw had just dropped, and I just looked at her and I was like, the fudge. Like, we look like the laziest people ever, you know? And I thought it really kind of described the difference between the real casual, laid-back feel of the way we perform in Australia, really naturalistic, really casual, and then this complete extravaganza, you know, dramatic, physical performance that the Indonesians had put on for us, so detailed, and I really felt that summed up, you know, neither was either worse or better or good or bad, but it really summed up how different we were.
Gaya pertunjukannya masing-masing, saya lebih membantu Bob ya, bagaimana Bob sebagai sutradara meminta para aktor untuk merancang beberapa adegan. Dalam membuat pertunjukan ini semua dilibatkan. Jadi tidak sutradara yang punya gagasan utama, tapi aktor juga masing-masing sangat berkontribusi membuat adegan, membuat cerita.
We went for a rehearsal process that was 5 days a week, which was both rehearsal, ensemble building, and devising the performance itself. We set the whole project performance around a Sundanese story of Jamarun.
And then the lift comes, yeah? Yeah. So maybe we'll start again and then work out when the lift comes. Yeah?
So that was the skeleton that we had around which we devised several scenes, a lot of scenes that talk about Australia, talk about Indonesia, and talk about our relationship with each other.
Bahui not give me script, so we don't have script for a couple weeks. But he give us impulse like you should think, you should always think. Every rehearsal, you should bring something new.
Was it portrait? Yeah, Charles.
In terms of the material that we were selecting for the scenes, I often felt that we were on the edge of what's permissible in Indonesia, which is a fairly heavily censored society. I'd often have to consult with Bawi to determine whether or not what we were creating would be sort of acceptable on an Indonesian stage. Maybe Bob might have some music to tell the story. have 8, 10 scenes, something that are ready to go and written. So tomorrow is a bit of a writing day. I think that's what I would like to do.
Yeah.
Things that we did outside of the rehearsal rooms was we took a lot of day trips, which were relationship building.
You're gonna kill me. Yeah. Let's do it. Oh.
Dengan siapa nonton YouTube?
We took language classes in Indonesia in our home, and they were very helpful.
Mama tidak suka belanja
Dan menyanyi. Menyanyi.
I genuinely loved it. Thought it was great immersing ourselves a little bit extra into their culture, and I think it showed that I definitely felt like I wanted to try my hardest at being able to speak as best I could to them in their own language, because I felt that was me showing them respect, even if I couldn't do it very well.
The rehearsal process was amazing. We effectively every morning had to scale a mountain to get there, but by the end I think it was it's definitely part of the experience. I'm certainly glad that we had that mountain to contend with. It unified us in a way.
Menutup pintu dengan keras. Yang saya hanya tahu. Saya tidak mengenal.
Okay.
So we climb up the big hill, as I've spoken about the hill, and then we were all red-faced and took our socks off, put our socks on, and did an hour of Suzuki, and then we'd have, depending on who was taking the rehearsal, we'd have improv sessions or writing sessions or rehearsing stuff that we'd made.
It was incredible to us that sometimes when we're watching the Indonesians, it turned out that they weren't just speaking Indonesian, Bahasa Indonesian, they were also speaking Sundanese. Sometimes a single sentence might contain elements of both languages, especially in their improvisation.
Banyak penyesuaian karena kita mempunyai latar belakang yang berbeda. Penyesuaian bagaimana kita menjalani sebuah proses, dan ya banyak hal. Yang pertama saya lakukan ketika mengingat bahwa ini adalah kolaborasi dua negara dengan latar budaya yang berbeda adalah memperhatikan terlebih dahulu. Tetapi sejauh ini dan saya rasakan ini sangat menarik dan sangat saya nyaman berada dalam proses ini dengan orang Australia maupun dengan orang Indonesia, karena yang saya lihat, yang saya rasakan, keduanya pun sama-sama saling berusaha untuk menyesuaikan.
Yeah? Like if they... Is it always the women who cook in Indonesia?
Kalau untuk itu gimana ya? Aku tuh kadang suka langsung aja gitu, kayak spontan gitu. Kalau misalkan dari aku sendiri, kadang juga suka ngedenger dari masukan-masukan dari orang lain. Harusnya kayak gini, dan aku coba. Tapi kalau misalkan akunya nggak nyaman, aku nggak lakuin. Tapi lebih ke, aku enaknya kayak gini. Oh ya udah kayak gini.
Skill development is
Anak kami akan putus sekolah.
When we have a different culture, it's automatically have a different perspective. In this project, I try to understand, to know more about the Australian ideas, and then yeah, everything is fun in the end.
All of it's anger. But in fact, with this exercise, you give it a shape.
We took vehicles around called uncots. It was just very nice to travel around in them because they were the typical transport mode in Bandung.
The food in Bandung. It is by far the best food I have tasted anywhere in the world.
Eating street food was a really great way to bond with locals and with our cast members.
We were very lucky in the way that even though it was their weekend as well, the Indonesian students were willing to take us around Bandung to show us the sights and the town.
Discovering the beautiful parks and really everything is happening outside. Music, you know, you've got men with snakes and people eating on the streets, and you know, it's humid, so everybody is living outside rather than inside, and it's busy and there's hustle and bustle, and I loved it. I loved it.
Nirvana banyak in UP as well for music department.
Saya berharap semuanya bisa lancar, Bob, ya, semua bisa berjalan dengan baik. Ini mengingatkan saya 20 tahun yang lalu ketika saya pertama kali bekerja sama dengan Trobe.
I hope everything is going well, and this moment remind me 2 years ago, the moment 20 years ago when Wawan have a collaboration with Trobe.
Yeah.
In Sundanese music, we have a legend. We call him Mang Koko. But unfortunately, he already passed away. But the neighbor of this house is Mang Koko.
No, that's Mang Koko daughter.
Mang Koko's daughter. And she would like to sing here for us.
In Indonesia, we had very little time in the space before we performed. We got there, we had about 2 days, I think, to get the show together, and all the technical elements, which were quite complicated because the show involved quite a bit of video, quite a bit of music, some live music as well, and it was in a large hall that many of my students weren't quite used to. Okay, what's the next cue? Next lighting cue? So we were under quite a bit of pressure to get the show ready on time. There was also surtitling which was used, so all the English had to be translated and surtitled into Indonesian.
Enggak, justru nggak enak ada sarung di adegan itu.
The many elements that needed to come together was quite quite chaotic, but we got there in the end.
Love the pheasant plucker, I'm the pheasant plucker's wife, and when we're plucking pheasants, it's a pheasant plucking wife.
Red lorries, yellow lorry, Irish wristwatch, Irish yellow lorry,
I'm so nervous. But I got a good team of people behind me.
It's the end of a great experience and the beginning of a new one here in Bandung as we're here on opening night. Everyone's calm, relaxed and ready, and we're just going to have a lot of fun doing this. We're sold out 3 shows here in Bandung. We're going to be performing to around 900 people over the next 3 days before we head to Bali. And all in all, I think they're going to have a great time watching what we've done.
All right, we're stretching the yawn. Nice and gentle on your voice. It's your time to have fun now. With the play, you've done lots of hard work.
Waktunya senang-senang.
It's your time to enjoy it.
Waktunya untuk
It's been an honour working.
Jamarun.
The stage just got kind of swarmed with what felt like about half the audience, which was about almost 300.
We were asked to greet people who had come to see the show, and it's like being a mini celebrity.
And they just wanted to take photos with us. Such a different experience from anything I'd done in Melbourne.
None of us ever took it for granted, but it was very nice to have these other people come and say how amazing of an experience it was for them, because I don't think Australians perform very often for them at UPI. And yeah, after it I was just very proud, I think, of everyone. We'd all put a lot of work into it, and I think it paid off.
We got to bring the Indonesian students here to Melbourne, where we went on to perform it both here at Trobe University, and we also then went on to perform it at La Mama Courthouse.
I think that was a new sort of excitement for the Australians in particular, or maybe all of us, because for the Australians it was like, oh, let's show people who we know, what we've been doing for the last 5-6 weeks. I don't know, I felt like the performance really told the story of the collaboration in a lot of ways, so it was cool to show that to the Melbourne audience.
Ketika itu dipentaskan di Australia di La Mama, seolah saya merasa ini sudah sebagian dunia gitu mengetahui cerita ini. Ya ada perasaan bangga juga gitu ya.
La Mama ini adalah gedung teater pertama di Melbourne, entah Melbourne atau Australia. Dan pokoknya saya sangat senang karena wow, saya bisa bermain di gedung yang memiliki sejarah yang sangat panjang gitu.
Cool.
Thank you all.
Oh, thank you. 1, 2, 3. Bandung Nasib
The dinner at Bob's house was very nice. It was very hospitable in a similar way. It kind of felt a bit like that dinner at Wawan's house.
For most of the night it was kind of like we were all just trying to just enjoy time with each other and sort of put off the inevitable goodbyes. Lisa cooked this amazing sort of sequence of dishes, and so it was pretty relaxing for the most part until the end when there were some people who we knew couldn't come to the airport.
It was really sad that night. Ash had made all these beautiful photo albums. The Indonesians were pulling these beautiful coloured scarves and they started to tie them around all of our heads.
And there wasn't a dry eye there by the end of it. We formed such a strong bond in the rehearsal space. We formed such a strong bond creating this work with a group of people that I'm sure none of us would have ever dreamed that we'd come across this sort of group.
Ya, saya merasakan sudah seperti keluarga. Ini sangat menyenangkan. Saya seolah-olah punya keluarga baru, teman diskusi yang baru, dan sangat-sangat menyenangkan.
Yang saya ambil adalah cara berpikir orang Australia, kemudian teknik bermain teaternya yang berbeda dengan di Indonesia, kemudian juga cara mereka berinteraksi.
It was an awesome project and one that was, I'm sure, a great experience for all involved, but also one that I hope will lead to many more fruitful collaborations in the future.